We have a quorum. And may we have a motion for the approval of the minutes of the May 23rd meeting?
I move approval of our minutes from our meeting of May 23rd, 2011.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved in second. Are there any questions, comments, additions? Not, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We have one speaker signed up, but it's for a discussion item on the bags, and I'd like to wait until we get to that so it'll be fresh in our mind what you have to say. Is that okay? Okay, great. All right. Items for consideration. City of Evanston's payroll through May 22nd, 2011, $2,606,603.29, and payroll through June 5th, 2011, $2,479,646.97. Is there a motion for approval?
I move to approve that as well.
Second.
It's been moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. A2, City of Evanston's bills through June 14th, 2011, $2,297,906.30, and the credit card activities through April the 30th of 2011, $86,012.24. Is that a motion for approval?
Second.
It's been moved in second. We also have the bills list. Are there any questions or comments on the bills list? Alderman Rainey.
I have a couple of questions, but I'm on the bills list, but I'm going to send them after the meeting. On this business, the first question about the model lease, I don't know if all the aldermen know, but one of the provisions of the model lease, I believe, is that it either be used as a lease or it be attached to a common form of a lease. So it's a pretty important document, and I don't know that anybody's ever been adjudicated for not attaching it or using it, but it's very important. And for any tenant listening out there who doesn't know what we're talking about, they should call the city and get a copy of it.
I would assume that that's still the same practice.
It is.
But
I don't think
I've
talked
the
to
tenants may not know.
They have no idea what I'm talking about.
Well, that's just one more thing that we need to do in terms of educating landlords, I guess.
Might be a good idea to put it on the city's webpage.
Okay. All right, well, I don't see Marty's here. I think I saw him. You get that, Marty? Thank you. Okay. Are there any other questions? Alderman Breathwaite.
I just wanted to know, under the Youth Service Bureau for the youth outreach workers, if there are any special plans for the summer for the 2 youth outreach officers.
Chief is here.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, Alderman. The outreach workers this summer will be focused on working in conjunction with Parks and Rec to get kids into those programs. Also, they'll work in conjunction with our youth counseling service and our school resource officers. The 2 officers that are currently assigned to the junior highs are rotated to the afternoon shifts, 3 to 11s or 4 to 12s, and they'll work in conjunction with them to gain familiarity with the kids and then track those at-risk youth into those recreation programs is the overview of what our intentions are for them this summer. Also, with the progress made in the Summer Summit, there'll be substantially more recreational opportunities for the outreach workers to track kids into this summer. Thank you.
Chief, do they have, like for instance, on special events like on Saturday, the sign-up, would they be attending events like that?
Yes.
They
and
should be.
They should be. I think unfortunately, this Saturday, they were both taking our police test and were
Oh,
not present
okay.
there.
All right. I know, I just didn't see them on Saturdays, I wondered. Okay, Alderman Rainey?
We didn't see him on Saturday at the Brummel Park summer assignment either.
Okay.
Or Saul.
Saul was at,
He
he was at Robert Crown. Okay. Okay, all right, thank you, Chief. Okay, it's been moved in second. All in favor? Any opposed? A31, approval of contract award for 2011 construction debris hauling and disposal bid number 12-29. Staff recommends City Council approval of a contract for construction debris hauling and disposal to KLF Trucking in the amount of $144,767.50. Funding for this work will be from the Water Fund, Sewer Fund, and the General Fund. In 2011, funding will be allotted in the amount of $126,650. The remainder of the contract funding will occur in 2012. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Are there any comments, questions? All in favor? Aye. A32, approval of vehicle and equipment purchases. Staff recommends City Council approval to purchase 7 replacement vehicles, equipment for various divisions and department from Curry Motors in the amount of $446,693.56 for 2 Ford 3/4-ton pickup trucks with plows and 5 Ford 1-ton dump trucks with plows. Funding will be provided by the Fleet Service Capital Outlay Budget for automotive equipment. That's Fund 7720.65550, which has an approved budget for funding year 2011 of $1,900,000, of which $500,000 was allotted for this replacement equipment. It's been moved in second. Are there any questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
A3.3, approval of a vacuum truck vehicle replacement purchase. The Fleet Service Division of the Public Works Department and the Utilities Department staff recommend City Council approval to purchase 1 vacuum truck vehicle for the Sewer Division of the Utilities Department and from Standard Equipment Company, and listed in the amount of $399,837, less a trade-in allowance of $65,000 for a net cost of $334,837. Funding will be provided by Fleet Service Capital Outlay Budget for automotive equipment, Fund 7720.65550, of which $350,000 was allotted for this replacement equipment. Is there a motion?
Move approval. Second.
Been moved and second. Are there questions or comments? All in favor? A3.4, approval of purchase for Arbeck Tex fungicide. Staff recommends approval of the sole source purchase of 111 gallons of Arbortech fungicide at $337.23 per gallon for a total purchase amount of $41,872.53. Funding will be provided by funding year 211's General Fund account 3535.62496 with a total allocation of $291,400.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Are there questions or comments? Alderman Berth.
Once again, I don't think we have the money for this. I don't understand why we continue to waste money on things that we don't have to. But once again, it's fall. We're going to have a budget issue. We're looking at a lot of money here. A couple months from now, we're going to be putting more money toward this. So I know I get outvoted every time I say we should stop spending money, but here we go again.
Alderman Rainey.
This is in our budget.
I know it's in our
It's
budget, but
not-
we can't afford it.
think, and I say this every time, we can't afford not to save these trees. They affect property values, et cetera. So,
Did, maybe I missed it. Is there a reason why we don't do outsource all of the trees for this? Because we just did a big budget to Hanson not Hanson, Nelson. Nels Johnson, I think, a couple of weeks ago, for all the other trees. I mean, is there a reason why we kept out these 225 trees? I just wondered.
and also, Madam Chairman, we asked at our last meeting about the ways that we notify the community, the private owners, how to purchase the fungicide.
Okay. Paul, go ahead.
Good evening, Paul D'Agostino, Superintendent of Parks, Forestry, and Facilities Management. The way the program has been structured since the beginning was to always have our own employees do some of the injections. It ranges between about 220 and 260, depending on the year, because it's a lot cheaper for our own employees to do it. But this is about the limit of what they can do in a given season. So.
And what about Alderman Rainey's question?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
We talked at the last time we dealt with Dutch Elm about notifying private elm tree owners or making it known to the community that they could purchase at our costs.
Yes.
How are we letting people know about that?
We're going to be putting something on the website and then probably trying to get something in a paper as far as like a press release as well.
We have several members of the press here. I'm sure they're going to advertise this for us.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, it's been moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. Nay. 2 nays, 3 ayes. A4, approval of contract between the City of Evanston and the Evanston Police Sergeants Association. The Fraternal Order of Police, the FOP. Staff recommends approval of the agreement between the City of Evanston and the Evanston Police Sergeants Association for a successor collective bargain unit agreement commencing March 1, 2011 through December 31st, 2012. Funds associated with the settlement of the agreement are contained in the funding year 2011 city budget within the police department's business units. Is there a motion for approval?
Move approval of A4.
Is there a second?
Second.
Are there questions or comments? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. A5, Resolution 31-R-11, adoption of the City of Evanston's Identity Protection Policy. Staff recommends City Council approval of Resolution 31-R-11, Identity Protection Policy to safeguard social security numbers collected, maintained, and used by the City of Evanston against any unauthorized access and use. Is there a motion for approval? Is there a second? Are there questions or comments?
One of us seconded and moved,
Yeah.
it's fine, it's just hopeful.
Okay. All right. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? A6, Resolution 35-R-11, designation of the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund, IMRF, authorized agent. Staff recommends approval of Resolution 35-R-11, which changes the IMRF authorized agent from Jolene C. Earl, Director of Administrative Services, to Cheryl Chaku, Human Resource Manager. The city's Human Resource Director has traditionally been designated as the authorized agent. It is more efficient and appropriate that the designation remain within the Human Resources Division. Is there a motion? It's been moved in second. Are there questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? A7, Ordinance 35-R-11, amending noise ordinance for construction and commercial leaf blowers on holidays. Staff recommends consideration of ordinance 35-0-11, which clarifies the existing subsection of noise prohibition for construction activities and commercial operators of leaf blowers to extend the I want to say prohibited, but prohibition specified to all days on Sunday and all city, state, and state of Illinois and federal holidays. This ordinance is presented at the request of a resident. Is there a motion? Okay, it's been moved in second. Are there comments or questions? Alderman Burris.
I've received a couple emails from residents about, in support of this, but I was wondering if we have more background on, have we heard anything from the landscaping companies? Have we heard any other information? I really haven't had much traffic on it, no one's called or emailed. Has anybody else received anything, or staff?
I had some emails, but that was it in terms of, but nothing, nothing major. Alderman Rainey?
A couple of weeks ago, there was a neighbor in our area who had 2 or 3 landscapers working on the job for at least 2 hours. It became intolerable. And at no point did they ever have a leaf blower going. It was all this other equipment, lawnmowers, being left running without, pushing them. I almost had to leave my house. It was so bad. I don't see why it seems like we pick out leaf blowers, and I know, and I see that it has to do with construction also, and I think that's legitimate, construction on holidays. But what about, I'm just thinking, what if somebody works, 60 hours a week, and they're off on the weekend or on a holiday, and they want to clean up their yard during the period where it's allowed? I'm not talking about an off period. What do we do about that? I mean, they're not a commercial operator, so it's okay for your neighbor to go out and do it, but not okay for an elderly person who has a yard service to have their yard service working. I mean, I don't know. I have no problem with the conditions as they are right now. And I don't think there should be construction on Sundays. I agree with that. But, darn.
I don't know. One of the emails referred to, I think, being disturbed on 2 consecutive Thanksgiving days. Did you get that one too?
Yeah, right.
So I don't
And
know.
on 2 years in a row, you mean?
I think it was 2 consecutive.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
what they said.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, good evening. This is something that I took on along with Mr. Swinkowski. A resident had contacted me 2 years in a row regarding an issue on Thanksgiving. And so when we're looking into this, realizing that the prohibition did not cover holidays, I'm here before you because that resident took the time to reach out on 2 consecutive years because on 2 consecutive Thanksgivings was bothered. I think as Alderman Rainey and others have already indicated, this is a quality of life issue, it's a community standards issue. On the one hand, folks look for quiet on a holiday. On the other hand, for many, it's the only time they have to catch up on household chores or have others come and do that on their behalf. So I brought this before you based on that complaint. It seemed like a reasonable policy question for the council to consider. Again, I think the comments that the council has already made are reasonable. You can look at this from 2 very different perspectives, and really it's a matter of trying to provide some finality to this question at the council level.
Are there Alderman Grover?
What if we were to set a time limit on that kind of landscape maintenance work on holidays, similar to what we have on Sundays? Namely, you can't do it before 9 o'clock. Were these early morning disturbances, or, I mean, I hate to legislate in reaction to just 2 days
Well, it's all day on Sunday, the prohibition currently.
right now.
So I think we were looking in response to the
Really the
community
holidays.
complaint that a Sunday and a holiday are often taken together where other types of prohibition or other kinds of allowances. You think of transit schedules, other things. Often there'll be a Sunday schedule that will take place on a holiday. Again, this is sort of whole cloth for you that, what makes sense in Evanston? That's really the question before you.
Well, why don't we just ban them on Thanksgiving?
You could do that too.
I mean, I don't think we're going to have leaf blowers on Christmas. However, on Christmas or on Thanksgiving, we could easily have snow blowers, which are really irritating.
Certainly.
I don't think we're going to go to banning snow blowers, because I want all the snow blowers in my neighborhood out, when it snows. I mean, if this person experiences what I experienced the other day, then I can understand where they're coming from. But I just think because look, in the summer, there's Memorial Day, there's all these holidays where, well, most of them, leaf blowers are banned anyway because of the time of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. I just think we have plastic bags and council members to talk about, so.
So what's your pleasure?
I'm not doing it.
Alderman Griffith, you want to weigh in? No? Okay, it's been moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Opposed?
No. I'm only opposed to the way this is worded, and I don't have any good idea for fixing it at the moment.
Okay, 3 and 2. Oh, bad part. I'm gonna feel 3 and 2. Okay.
Which way?
8.
Was,
Oh, I'm sorry. Aye.
okay.
That was an aye. 3, 4.
She said it really quietly.
Yeah.
She surely did.
I should have said that, I'm sorry. 2 against, yes. A8, ordinance 40-0-11, enacting a new subsection 3-5-6-AA of the City Code, Class AA liquor license. Local liquor commissioners recommend that the City Council suspend its rules and introduce ordinance introduce and adopt ordinance 40-0-11, which permits licenses to operate cafe, bar, delicatessens, wine shops, hybrid. Licenses will be permitted to sell wine and beer. The cafes may not operate as type 2 restaurants. Suspension of the rules requested to permit introduction and action on June 13th. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Is there a second?
I have a
It's
question.
been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Alderman Rainey?
I want to know if all of the required documentation has been received, because there was an indication that maybe it wouldn't be, and we would have to do a provisional license.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Grant for our Corporation Counsel. With respect to the license application materials, everything has been received with the exception of the fingerprint checks. We checked in with the Illinois State Police. They indicated that the data would be forthcoming, but they just have a backlog. I can represent to the committee members that the prospective applicant represented to us that there would be no problems on the background check. So if we were looking at strict code interpretation, we would be looking at issuing a conditional license. Also, the applicant is present here tonight to answer any questions that you might have.
Could you specifically, what is the major difference? I read this through, and I don't know all we have so many different liquor license categories, really. So could you just, in a very short synopsis, tell me why we need another category? What does that mean?
Sure.
Thank you.
Alderman Burris and members of the committee, as you know, I've said in the past that it's my hope and my intention to revise the liquor code to hopefully reduce the number of licenses and streamline it and make it much more user-friendly for all concerned. However, having said that, the business model of this prospective establishment is such that there's really nothing in the code. Some of the differences here include retail sales of both wine and craft beer, BYOB of wine with a corkage fee, the operation of a gourmet delicatessen, indoor and outdoor seating, and then also the provision for tasting. So what we did is I did some extensive research into some other jurisdictions that have similar establishments and looked at that language, and also had extensive dialogue with the applicant to conform the language to the business model. This really was a new establishment coming at us based upon its business model. So it just necessitated a new license creation.
I actually have a follow-up question then. So a wine tasting store, or a wine store that does tastings, if they came in and got or they could add possibly this liquor license, so then if you go in and pay to do a party wine tasting, you have wine left over. Currently, they cannot give it to you to walk out of the store. But you're saying here you can do that?
No,
So,
what I'm saying is, and perhaps the applicant might want to explain this, what I am saying is, based upon my understanding of the business model, there would be a tasting option as an enticement for individuals who are already in the establishment to then sit down and purchase a meal, or go to the wine display and get a full bottle to take home with them. So that's a little bit different than some of the other establishments in the city, such as Wine Styles and Vinnick, where we, as you recall, did recently amend the liquor code to permit expanded tasting options for them, which track a state statute. So it's my understanding, based upon the business model, that tasting is going to be a subset of what goes on here at the cafe, but it's really intended to exist as an inducement for patrons to either have a meal or to buy a full bottle of wine.
okay.
I don't want to create the ire of the business community with this question, but I understood it to be like you explained. If you have a taste of wine and you like it, you may then buy a bottle of that wine and sit down at a table with a meal and drink the wine that you bought off the shelf. Is that correct?
Correct.
Is that okay. The question I have is, I can't remember how the liquor tax is different from liquor by the bottle or liquor by the drink, so alcohol by the drink. So I am wondering, how is that going to be taxed as a packaged liquor purchase? For, there's a tax for purchasing beer, wine, and alcohol for consumption off the premises.
Correct.
And then there is a tax for drinking on the premises.
Added to the bill, correct.
What is this?
I think that's the way it's going to work, but I can do some further looking at that. But that's my understanding of the way it's going to work. But
It's going to work how?
it's going to work in terms of how you just recited.
But I recited both.
Well,
Which one?
Well, if you're speaking about buying the bottle and consuming it on the premises, it's going to be my analysis that it would be part of the bill consumed with the meal.
Well, then they shouldn't charge a corkage fee, I wouldn't think. I think the reason why I'm curious is because it seems complicated. And so I think we should figure it out, because we want to make sure that, everybody's treated fairly and the tax is appropriate.
If Mitch, the applicant, may want to speak to that point because it's talking to some issues that are outside my purview.
Hi.
Alderman, my name's Mitchell Doolin. I've met some of you before. I used to run Chicago's largest wine and retail chain, manage all the stores. I owned a high-end French restaurant, Italian restaurant.
Okay.
Exactly. So we got all that, so I got a little experience. So the purpose of the way I'm doing this, there's basically 3 revenue streams here. It's going to create income and taxes, for the community 3 different ways: the deli, the wine, craft beer, retail, and then the cafe. And regarding on and off premise, if a person buys a bottle of wine and consumes it on premise, then it'll be taxed as if it was off of a wine list. The reason that I have that $7.50 corkage is, as I'm sure we're all aware, when you go to a normal restaurant, you're getting ripped off by the markup that restaurants do. They'll take a $7 bottle and it costs $40 on their wine list. I'm trying to offer value to my customers. And that way, just having it from retail plus a $7.50 corkage, because I do have to pay rent, my landlord's here, and I have to pay taxes and things. So, that's all part of the purpose, but you're still going to, the consumer, the customer, the community is still going to end up getting a great value on the wine. The sampling part of it, and I had a similar business like this in Arlington Heights, and they did the same thing. They had to combine a couple of different categories. The tasting aspect of it is for off-premise and on-premise. On the weekends, if we have bottles of wine open, and customers look at 150 wines and they don't know exactly what they want to have. If I have 2 or 3 bottles open and they could take a sample of something, it's a lot easier for them to find the wine that they want. So that's going to be a big focus of the tasting aspect of it. It's not, I want to get everybody happy and then they're going to go sit down and have dinner. It's more, the purpose of giving them an opportunity to try something. I could recommend wines to them, but everybody's tastes are different. This way, if there is an opportunity to try different things, it'll allow them to focus in on something that they like. So it's really an amenity to the customers as opposed to anything else, really. And on my cash register, I'll have an ability to tax it as an on-premise or an off-premise.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Are there other questions or comments? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. A9, ordinance 41-0-11, increasing the number of Class A AA liquor licenses to permit issuance to Central Street Cafe. Local liquor commissioner recommends that the city council suspend its rules and introduce and adopt ordinance 41-0-11, increasing the number of Class A AA liquor licenses from 0 to 1 to permit issuance to Chardonnay Wine Bar Corporation, doing business as the Central Street Cafe, located at 2800 Central Street. Suspension of the rules is requested to permit introduction and action on June 13, 2011.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Are there any comments, questions? Not all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? A10, ordinance 44-0-11, decreasing the number of Class D liquor licenses due to the change in ownership of the Royan Sushi Bar. The local liquor commissioner recommends adoption of ordinance 44-0-11, decreasing the number of Class D liquor licenses from 24 to 23 due to a change in ownership of the Royan Sushi Bar at 1900 Central Street. Is there a motion? Move approval.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Are there comments or questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? A11, ordinance 45-0-11, increasing the number of liquor licenses, Class D liquor licenses to permit issuance to Royan Sushi Bar. The local liquor commissioner recommends adoption of ordinance 45-0-11, increasing the number of Class D liquor licenses from 23 to 24 to permit issuance to Red Marquis Incorporated, new owner of the Royan Sushi Bar at 1900 Central Street. Is there a
Move
motion?
approval?
It's been moved and seconded. I'm sorry.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and now seconded. Okay, are there questions or comments? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Moving on, we have items for discussion. Hold on a minute, I'm sorry. Sorry. Moving on to items up for discussion. We have number one, APW1 is the disposal of shopping bag proposed ordinance, and we have one speaker signed up. Oh, okay. We want to do the speaker first, Jenny Lenoir.
Hi, I'm Jean Lindwall, 625 Library Place. I really am questioning, and not having a hard time understanding exactly what the proposed carry-out bag ordinance is supposed to accomplish. The rationale in the ordinance is that the bag tax or ban, whichever it ends up being, would reduce litter and create an economic incentive for people to use reusable bags and presumably reduce our carbon footprint. That's kind of what's in the ordinance. But if you start looking at the purposes, reducing litter, people who litter dump lots of things away besides plastic carry-out bags, and I don't think that the proposed ordinance is really going to change the behavior of people who litter as opposed to disposing of things properly. Reducing our carbon footprint, from what I've been reading, because when this issue came up, I started doing a little bit of research. It seems that the carry-out plastic bags may actually be the greenest choice, which was a surprise to me, followed by paper bags and then reusable bags in terms of the energy needed to produce the product. And obviously, the math changes the more you reuse any of the bags. And then the one that interests me the most, and I think is probably the most valid argument for some sort of action, is keeping plastic bags out of landfills, which isn't mentioned in the ordinance at all, but in my view is a much more valid reason to be focusing on plastic bags and all types of plastic. Again, in the research that I've done, there appears to be a really significant market for recycled plastic film, which includes carry-out bags and a number of plastic packaging that can generate revenue and is generating for revenue in places like Jewel and Dominic's, which are accepting the plastic bags and then they're turning around and selling it. And, there is evidence, there are a lot of people that, Santa Cruz County has got a recycling operation where the not-for-profit that runs it is recycling lots of plastic bags and generating income for their organization. The bag exclusions in the ordinance mean that there's still a lot of plastic as well as paper that can end up in landfills as either, or it can end up either as landfill waste or as litter. And it seems to me that if we're really going to be comprehensive about this, we should be focusing on preserving the landfill capacity and trying to get all kinds of plastic, especially the bags and the film that's not recycled now through our program, out of the waste stream. And I think that there are probably a lot better ways to be recognized as a green city than by adopting the proposed ordinance. As I said, the best practices being used across the country involve recycling all kinds of bags and other plastic film. And the proposed ordinance that you have before you really only focuses on a tiny portion of the waste reduction issue. And I think that it's punitive and it ignores much more positive approaches that we should be considering. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Burris.
I would take much contention with the last speaker's research. It flies in the face of actual research that has been done by not only our sustainability coordinator, but Citizens for a Greener Evanston, the Environment Board, and actually scientists in the field. So if she would like to provide documentation and actual scientific data, we would be thrilled to have that. But to make comments like that at public comment that are not substantiated and are against what all the research that's been done, I think is a disservice to the community.
Well,
I will be quick.
okay.
There is information and research available. There was a report that was done, a pilot study a year ago, done by the Solid Waste Agency of Lake County, was presented to the Illinois General Assembly, and frankly, and I provided a copy of that report to staff. So, you know, there's lots of research out there. That's, you know, and I think Catherine can talk about some of the other things that she's found through some of the additional research or questions that were raised at the community meeting. So that's it.
I think we'll probably hear lots of different views and different, you know, research that's been done by lots of different people. But Ms. Hurley, you want to?
Hi, good evening. Madam Chairman, members of the committee. Based on the direction from our last meeting, I did do the research, updated the white paper, and I'm happy to answer any questions, or if you would prefer me to give a little bit of an update, I'm here to be a resource in whatever way you want.
Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And I actually was at the Environment Board meeting on Thursday and spoke with them about if they would be interested in working on with Catherine. I think they've probably reached out to you to take the information from the public meeting and actually the research and hard data that we've come up with from your report and to try to work on something to bring back to us. I was wondering, could you, when you're giving your presentation, could you talk about maybe that as well?
Sure. So just to recap, on April 25th, the ordinance 67010 was presented to the committee, which was the 5 cents tax that started out on all shopping bags. So that was included in the memo as attachment 4. Then during our meeting, there was some good discussion, and the recommendation of having a bag ban came up, and that was talked about at the meeting. And then at that time, the committee asked that staff go back and hold a public meeting, do more research, gather more information, and bring that back to the committee, and here we are with that information. The committee meeting was on May 24th, and nearly 100 people attended, and included in the packet was a copy of the slides and a summary bullet point of the feedback from people at the meeting on both the pros and cons of a bag ban and a bag tax, as well as input from people who came on what they may or may not want to see in an ordinance, and those are bulleted in the attachment. And then in preparation for the public meeting and based on feedback from the committee, I did put together a white paper with lots of input. We had one draft that was before the public meeting, and subsequently I've been updating it and working to incorporate different pieces of information and studies and other data. So I do believe that the study that has been referred to has been referenced in the report, as well as some other information. There was a UK Department of Environment study that's talking about the carbon impacts related to the different kinds of bags, and that the carbon impact is greatly related to the number of times any kind of bag is reused. And so I referenced and tried to update the white paper based on information that I've received to date. Following the community meeting, Alderman Fisk and I actually were contacted by Mike Sullivan, who works for Helix Poly, which is a plastic bag manufacturer and recycler, which was very interesting. And his company actually has a plastic bag and film recycling plant in Mount Vernon, Indiana, and has offered to host a trip if anyone would like to go and see the plastic bag and film recycling plant, which is something that we can explore as well. So we continue to get information that I've been trying to incorporate into the white paper. As Alderman Burris said, the Environment Board did reach out and say they'd be happy to help collaborate and coordinate and take some of the research we have so far and do further thinking and looking into all the different options, including different ordinances as well as recycling and education outreach. So I think there's been some good communication there as well, and continue to receive emails and feedback, et cetera. So the goal really of today was to come back with all these different pieces of information as best information that we had, present them to the committee, and then look for feedback on next steps that you would like to see happen in this area.
Okay. Alderman Burris.
I would like to make a motion to request that the Environment Board work with the Sustainability Coordinator as well as local merchants associations to revise the bag ordinance using the information provided, also information from the public meeting, and have that proposed revised ordinance to us by October. Initially, we'd like September, but the Environment Board does not meet in August.
Okay. It's been moved and second. Are there comments? Alderman Grover?
Alderman Grover seconded.
I'll give the second to Alderman Braithwaite. I think I heard him
I
say.
thought he.
Yeah, I attended the meeting. I thought it
You
was really
second?
well done.
Yeah.
The meeting last month was really well done. Thank you, Alderman Burris, and thank you, Ms. Hurley, for putting that together. I think the impression that I got from reading the feedback, the summary of it, and at the meeting itself, is that there is a real interest in Evanston in curbing the use of those single-use disposable plastic bags. The question now is how we do it, whether by legislation or by educational efforts or a combination of both. And so I think the Environmental Board is a good place for this.
Are there other comments? Okay. All right, it's been moved in second. Well, we'll come back. It's been moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, our second item for discussion is discussion of amending section 10-11-13 and ordinance section 10-11-14 and 10-11-16 of the City Code to establish a citywide weight limit, update truck restricted routes, and designated truck routes. Director Robinson, do you want to do that? Okay. Yeah. Sometimes I have to take my glasses off to see.
Good evening. I'm Suzette Robinson, Director of Public Works. We brought this item to you at the request. We received a request from two aldermen to take a look at the weight limits on two routes in particular, Oakton and Church Street. And establishing a weight limit, the potential of establishing an 8,000-pound weight limit on those routes. When we went back to review the ordinance and the map that we were using to enforce the truck routes and the truck prohibited routes, as well as the existing 8,000-pound limits, we found some discrepancies between the map that we were using and the ordinance. So we set out to look at an 8,000-pound weight limit and ended up establishing or expanding a program to look at the entire truck route system within the city. As you note on the map on the screen, although it's a little hard to see, the truck routes are noted in blue, I believe. I can't even see either. Thank you. Truck routes are blue. The truck prohibited routes are a solid red. And yes, and any other, the purple things are IDOT roads that are, or roads that are not under the jurisdiction of the city of Evanston. And what we found is that even some of our truck restricted areas are not, we actually have restrictions on a couple of roads that are not ours, and which is really not valid. For example, Sheridan Road, there's a piece of Sheridan Road that's around the cemetery from South Boulevard into Chicago that we can petition to IDOT to have that truck prohibited, and we'll be willing to do that if it's council's wish. And then we also have a portion of Asbury, which is also listed in purple. Is that? Yep. That is no, thank you. That portion there, that if we wanted to make that truck prohibited the way the rest of Asbury is, we would need to go back and change that. So that was one of the things that we went to change. Then we also, in looking at the 8,000-pound weight limit for Oakton, which that is Oakton east of Dodge, which was the requested area that we looked at, we ended up basically saying that it made good sense for us to just limit all routes, all roads in Evanston to 8,000 pounds. So that's what we're recommending, that there be a weight limit placed on all roads that are not previously truck prohibited or established as truck routes, that they be limited to 8,000 pounds. Alderman Rainey asked me, what does 8,000 pounds mean? And it's basically a pickup truck. A garbage truck is more than 8,000 pounds. A small box cargo van would be less than 8,000 pounds. However, the UPS truck, the delivery trucks are more than 8,000 pounds. And so when we have a prohibited street, what that means is that you could still have trucks on that route, but just for delivery purposes, meaning that if their destination happens to be in a residential neighborhood, of course the truck will be able to make that delivery within the neighborhood. The same would be true, say, of a moving van. You know, you have somebody moving, they would still be able to go and have that still occur within that system. And what we're proposing as a part of this too is an educational piece, because we have a couple of businesses that tend to cause additional truck traffic on areas. In Oakton in particular, we took a closer look at what's happening on Oakton east of Dodge in terms of businesses that are not complying. And we have in the past tried to contact one. Ozinga, the concrete trucks tend to be a large issue. So we are going to, once again, contact the business owners. Once we have an approved truck route, we're going to educate all the businesses, again, in terms of what the requirements are, and ask that they share that with whoever is using their facility. And then we're also going to work with the police department for enforcement. Once we identify what the problem areas are, to be able to have the police enforce the truck route.
Alderman Grover?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Director Robinson. There was, as you said, discrepancy between the maps and our ordinance and with our signage as well, it sounds like, from the memo. So part of the plan here would be to change the signage, remove signs?
Well, we went through and we established, we put the truck route signs up recently. But yes, there was still some discrepancy. So, you know, we were enforcing based on the map. So we actually had a few tickets kind of thrown out because it didn't match the ordinance. So now we're bringing, and what we will do once we establish the 8,000-pound limit, we will be able to put that at the entrance signs, like with the 25 mile an hour, unless otherwise posted, which would be a lot less expensive than trying to go street by street and establish, 8,000-pound limits.
So the 8,000-pound limit, which I assume is a typical truck weight limit wouldn't be an overlay in the entire city, rather would be for every street on which there is not already a truck route posted or a trucks prohibited, right?
That's correct.
Okay. So unless you're on a truck route or on a route that's truck prohibited, you got to know it's 8,000-pound limit.
That's correct.
All right.
But like I said, deliveries, like, because all the garbage trucks are over 8,000 pounds, so you still will have garbage trucks on your street picking up the garbage.
We hope.
On the truck prohibited, on the 8,000-pound limit streets, so for business operations and deliveries. So, and that's not to say that Ozinga would never be on Oakton, because they're our concrete provider. So they will be traveling around Evanston quite a bit because they work with our street maintenance crews, following them around from job to job based on the concrete jobs that we do. But for the jobs that occur outside of Evanston, they shouldn't be transiting on non-truck route streets to get to those locations in Chicago or elsewhere.
And do our neighbors, Chicago and Wilmette and Skokie, have similar bans, or does this make sense with what someone who's driving a truck encounters when they leave Skokie, Chicago, and Wilmette into Evanston?
Yes, there are some, yes, the establishment of truck routes that's a nationwide phenomena. So what we're doing is not new, and there are several cities that have truck prohibited streets, like throughout the city, like what we're proposing.
Like Sheridan Road up into Wilmette, I'm assuming, is also truck prohibited.
Rajiv, do you know? Rajiv, do you know if that? Yeah, we believe so.
Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
Alderman Rainey?
Are you certain you have all the truck prohibited streets marked on here? I'm thinking of a couple that aren't on here, but I could be wrong. I'll ask you tomorrow. Thinking Dobson and Brummel east of, or west of Dodge.
As I mentioned before, we had a lot of things that were, we had a map that was being updated. And we have a copy of the previous map, and I do not believe that was, we've been working on a map since 1978, I think, and they've just been kind of updating that and not necessarily the ordinance to reflect that. If there are streets that you believe should or want to be, completely truck prohibited, then you just need to let us know, and we can look at that, and also what the ramifications would be for that. For example, for Oakton, the 8,000-pound weight limit is a good option, we believe, for that road, because we do have deliveries to St. Francis Hospital, and that the lumber company that's actually located on Main in Custer actually uses Oakton because they can't make the turn off Main Street. So they use Oakton to access their business.
Alderman Burrs?
Yeah, that's one of the biggest problems. We need to fix that. It doesn't make sense for them to go down Oakton. Why can't they go down on the Chicago side of Howard and come over Custer? And even the St. Francis piece of it, a huge part of the problem are these semis going down Oakton, making the left on Custer, and going into the lumberyard. I do feel, that the lumberyard needs to accommodate that somehow, but I don't think they can do it. They need to tell their folks to go down Howard, or they need smaller trucks, or they need something. Maybe they shouldn't be located in a residential neighborhood, but that is this is not going to solve our problem on Oakton if we're allowing semis to go down Oakton and these other large trucks to go down Oakton to get to St. Francis. If we can route them down Howard, which is a bigger street.
It's not a truck route, though.
Well,
right. No, I know. That's my point.
Custer isn't a truck route either.
No, it's not.
No, I know.
It's all residential, and there aren't going to be
And trucks are prohibited on Ridge, and trucks are prohibited on Asbury. Those are truck prohibited streets. So if we sent them down Howard, they would have to go down Custer to get to the business.
And I'm not.
So
I'm not as at issue with Custer. I'm more at issue with with Oakton. Oakton has been poorly maintained forever, particularly east of Dodge. And every time you're driving down there, you're hitting pothole after pothole, and these trucks are making it worse. We've done nothing to fix that road, okay? Howard is actually better maintained than Oakton. And you have more businesses on Howard, and then if you're coming over Custer, which they're currently doing, I mean, they drive in front of my house all the time, Custer is better maintained than Oakton is. Oakton's a nightmare. It's awful. It's almost not as, yeah, it's almost as bad as Dodge.
Howard's in my ward, and so
It's
is
not the-
Custer.
the other
That's
side-
why.
the other
that's
side,
why
isn't
it's
it?
Well, but we paved it together. And we've maintained our side much better than they have, right, Suzanne?
Yes, that's correct.
Want the 8,000-pound limit, though?
Well, what I explained is that the 8,000-pound limit won't prevent local deliveries, meaning that the trucks going to St. Francis, that's a local delivery. That's the only way in for them. Coming off the expressway is to come down Oakton and to go directly to St. Francis from that way.
So once again, this solves zero problem for anyone in my ward that lives along Oakton. We've done nothing to help them, and we've not paved Oakton to help alleviate the bouncing of the trucks and the houses and the chimneys. So basically, this is not addressing it at all.
Well, what we're proposing is going to improve the amount, it's going to reduce the amount of trucks that are on Oakton. And we are, and I sent you the email today with our repaving schedule for that portion of Oakton, which we have scheduled for July 5th to strip the deteriorated portions. And I just want to say that there has been a road failure, and I can't say if that failure is based on the truck traffic or whatever, but the condition of that road is really not that bad in terms of when the road was paved. And when I look at, there are certain sections of that road that have failed and that have had base failures. But for the most part, it's actually in pretty decent shape, except those areas, and those are the areas that happen to fall right in line with the wheels of the vehicles that are traveling. And I stood out there and I listened, and just standing on the curb. And when a truck comes by and it bounces in that hole, the same situation that we had on Dempster. So I understand exactly what you're saying, and like I said, we're planning to resurface that in July, and with the police and the education of the companies that are using it, we will actually reduce the amount of truck traffic. I don't really have an answer. I mean, we can't not deliver to St. Francis Hospital, and there's no other way for us to be able to access that without going to Oakton. And that's just not St. Francis Hospital. That's, anybody else that would have a delivery, in some of those residential areas. We can take a look at what we can do to improve the turning radius, if possible, for the trucks that should be going into the lumberyard off Main Street. We haven't looked at that. So we'll take a look at, getting the trucks back on Main Street, seeing what we can do to improve the turn for the lumberyard to get them back on Main where they belong.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Once again, I can't support this. This is, I believe, not really helpful. Once again, it's not going to really alleviate much of the traffic, because all the traffic you're talking about is going to St. Francis, and it's going to the lumberyard. Once again, the lumberyard is in a residential district. They know that they should be going down Main Street. They can make that turn on Main at Custer if they need to. They're choosing not to. That is, and we can help them with moving, having more restricted parking on Main to make that turn. But this does nothing, literally nothing, to help the situation on Oakton.
Well,
I don't understand why we would bring something forward that is not addressing what I've been talking about for 2 years. How many emails from residents have you received, that I've received? Do they need to come and picket City Hall? What do they need to do to have some sort of relief from this situation?
Alderman Rainey.
Well, first of all, we absolutely have to figure out a better turning solution for them on Main. So let's do that. Second of all, we're going to pave Oakton, we're going to resurface parts of Oakton. Okay. Do we know when Oakton School's construction is over? Because I'm telling you, those trucks coming out of that schoolyard are huge. So let's wait, make sure we wait until they finish running up and down Oakton. Do we know when they're going to be finished?
No, I don't. I can find that out.
Just
But you're right.
doesn't look like they're almost finished yet. I mean, it
No,
doesn't
no,
look that way.
that's true.
So I think that would be very, very important. But the turning thing on Main Street seems to me to be critical.
Yes.
I mean, that's
Yes, and Alderman Burrs, once we fix that, if we can fix that turning radius, we can enforce those trucks that are going into the lumberyard onto Main Street, and the police will ticket them if they're on Oakton. And so that will remove those trucks.
And they've been.
But we have to have the truck we have to have the prohibition on Oakton. So what we're proposing, we need to put that 8,000-pound limit on Oakton, and then we can force the trucks.
That would make a huge difference.
Maybe if we give it a try and see, and while we're waiting for them to finish with the construction at Oakton School, and July 5th is when you are planning to resurface, right?
There are portions of the road that we can resurface to alleviate that are away from where the school is, without waiting for the construction project at the school to finish.
They're going to roll, the trucks are going to go over the part we fix. So that's the only reason I'm concerned about it.
Do you have your hand up? Oh, okay.
Well, I guess also my question, what does local mean? We're using the word, they can come in locally. What does that mean to you? I don't consider Oakton really local to Custer and Maine.
Well, I mean, local can mean Austin. I mean, all the local residential streets that are bound by the primary routes,
so
the
really, if
quadrant.
they're going to the lumberyard, they should be immediately ticketed because Maine is not local to Oakton. We need a definition of local. If you're saying they can come in locally, is local a mile? Is local 2 miles? Is local a half a mile?
Okay, we can define that in the ordinance.
And how soon can we make some turning issue on the Main Street?
We'll go out there tomorrow.
Do you know how long that lumberyard has been there? I'm trying to remember. I mean, I hear you saying that it's in a residential area, but it's been there forever, right? I mean, it's almost like the issue when people move near O'Hare and they hear airplanes. I'm sorry, sometimes we have to be a little tolerant. Well, that's why I'm saying let's give it a chance to what the staff is proposing. If we try that, and then if it's not, then we can always come back and try and do something different. Okay, is there any other comments? Okay.
Maybe if we could find out when our staff is going to be out on Main Street, sometime tomorrow, maybe somebody from the neighborhood or the alderman could be there.
Yeah, we can do that.
And especially maybe somebody from the lumberyard.
Yeah, we can set it up.
Maybe somebody from the lumberyard can go stand on Oakton and watch while these trucks go down.
No,
It's
we
not
don't
their
want,
house.
we don't want the trucks to go down.
I know.
Oakton, so let them watch them go down Main.
We'll set it up.
Okay. All right, any other comments? Okay, we have no communication. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
What's the plan?